In this video, I'm going to show you a way to set up the SSO between HTTP and the backend system. So the HTTP provides a connectivity services in a secure way of forwarding the identity of an on-demand user to a cloud connector, and from there to the backend of the relevant on-premise system. So this process we call propagation. So the first step on the HTTP to make sure that it's going to support the principal propagation is to check in the Trusty tab on your cockpit dashboard if your principal propagation is enabled on local service provider. So the second step is to set up the destination to use this principal propagation mechanism to provide the user to the cloud connector. So this destination is used by the Java application that is used by our HTML5 application. So on the destination, we need to check if it's using the authentication principal propagation and the proxy type on-premise. So this authentication is only applicable if you want to connect to your on-premise system via Cloud Connector. So then, once you set up authentication to principal propagation, then you need to make sure that your Cloud Connector is properly set up, is connected. So here it shows the status screen connected and all our systems set up on the Cloud Connector. So this is all we need on the HTTP side. So then once we set up everything on the cloud on the HTTP, so now let's move to HANA Cloud Connector. So to be able to support the principal propagation, we need to verify if in the principal propagation on the account. So let's move first on the account. So this is my account on the HTTP that is connected. So okay, so then once I select this account, I need to go to principal propagation, and I need to make sure that I have my IDP trusted and the application that's going to use that destination which we changed to principal propagation on the authentication configuration. We need to make sure that we are trusting on that Java application. Also, another important point is to make sure that the backend we are going to connect using the principal propagation, it's using the HTTPS protocol or SSL port. Then the other step is to verify if you have your cloud connector properly set up. So then we go first to security status and then select system certificate. Once you open the system certificate, so you need to import the CA certificate. So on this case, the cloud connector, we can enable support principal propagation with X509 certificate in two ways. So the first is local CA, where we need to provide here a private key important here, the certificate, or we can set up with a CA through or using secure login server. In this video, we are going to use local CA. So then you just need to create your private key and then import here as P12 certificate, and then you go select the file and enter the password. So then The second is then the next step is to create the system certificate. So this system certificate is going to be created as a private key as well, as a key pair, I would say, and then it must be signed by the CA certificate. And then, as the same as the previous step, we need to import the P12 certificate here. And then we're going to import this certificate. Then another important information here is we need to maintain this information because then we will going to use on the ABAP side, on the backend, to set up the trustee in the Cloud Connector. So we need to maintain this information and we will need to maintain this information. So that's all at this point. We need to make sure that we have all these settings on the Cloud Connector. So now the third part is to set up the trustee between Cloud Connector and the backend. So then the certificate 509 sent from the Cloud Connector will be trusted by the backend, and then we'll authenticate the users from the HCP. To configure, the next step is to configure or set up trustee between the HANA Cloud Connector and the backend system. So in the backend system, the first thing we need to make sure that your backend system has SSL enabled, or you can access your system through the SSL port. Then when the SSL is ready, we need to go to transaction RZ10. We need to open the instance profile. Go to extend minus display. So we need to make sure that we are allowing the short living certificates are trusted by the ICM with these two parameters, trust client with issuer and trust client with subject. So in this case, I'm allowing everything here using the stars, but you can restrict to the certificates created on the Cloud Connector side, like this. We use the issuer and you use the subject when you create the CA certificate and server certificate. Okay, so after set up these parameters and restart your ICM, we need to set up the trustee using also uploading the certificates on the system, on the backend. So then we go to Asterisk transaction. We extend the SSL server standard, double click, and here we need to upload, if you don't scroll down, we need to upload those two public certificates of two key pairs we created on the Cloud Connector. The server certificate, we need to import this public certificate of this key pair, and also for CA certificate, the public key pair, the public certificate. So then we just choose here, and then we're going to import both here and save. Okay, so now we assume that our system is trusting on the Cloud Connector. Okay, the last part is to map the user sent from the HCP, map one user on the backend side to authenticate once the user arrives at backend. To map a user coming on the X509 certificate, we need to go to the transaction extid_dn, and here we have the list of all assignments of an external ID to users. So in this case, we need to go to the add a new entry. So here we need to add the, the, the user coming on the 509 certificate. So in our case, if you go to the cloud connector and we look principal propagation, so this is the standard. So it's coming as cn equal, and this is the attribute information coming from the HCP. So in our case, this is the P user on the HCP. So then here we should say that the unuser we equal cn p00001 p0011. It's going to authenticate with one user here. Then we can select any user on the backend. Here I will take my user on the backend side, and then we set up activated, and then we just save. So then it's ready. So this means that my P user P011 is going to authenticate it using the user I823.079, and then save. So then you just need to go and back to the HCP, and then we should call any URL from our application that use the backend to make sure that this single sign-on is working.